Hello world, hello you beautiful people. Me again. Another beautiful day. Yeah, and it's Friday. What's good? Now let's get down to business. Because you know when it comes to this gaming stuff, I love talking about gaming, and I'm very good at it. But anyway, when it comes to this, gaming, I owns my own, and I'm pretty good at this. So listen to this. The title of this video is called "Why Breath of the Wild Exists," and I'm gonna tell you why. Okay. But I found this article today. I had it bookmarked and I wanted to get to it. I'm just gonna read 2 paragraphs of it. It's talking about Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword paved the way for Breath of the Wild. I got news for that editor that wrote the article. He's wrong. Skyward Sword didn't do anything for Breath of the Wild. But I got a Zelda game that paved the way for everything else. Listen, let me just read two paragraphs of this article. Listen to this. Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword paved the way for Breath of the Wild. Despite being 2 completely different games, Breath of the Wild borrowed and improved on many nuanced mechanics from Skyward Sword. Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword is the latest remastered in the lengthy Legend of Zelda series, arriving in July. The game originally came out in November of 2011 for the Nintendo Wii, and like any new Zelda game, introduced new gameplay mechanics. It's not new for an entry of the series to borrow gameplay mechanics from its predecessors, though it could be argue that thanks to some of the features introduced in Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild is the game that it is today. Wrong. But anyway, Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild came out in 2017 for the Wii U and Nintendo Switch. Critical acclaim, winning many awards, Breath of the Wild is the latest completely original game in the series, with Link Awakening having been released in 2019, being a remake of an older title initially released for Game Boy. Breath of the Wild 2 was teased in 2019, but not much is known of the sequel, though it is sure to borrow many elements from previous titles in the series. Some of these mechanics introduced previous entries were improved upon for Breath of the Wild, with some of the originating in Skyward Sword. Okay, who wrote this article? Let's see who wrote this. Let me see who wrote this. I'm not even gonna read the entire thing. Who wrote this? It's a pretty lengthy article too. Let's see. This is from Gamers Rant. Who wrote this article? From Jacob Tadasco, whatever his name. Jacob Tadasco. All right. Listen, Jacob. Listen. You are wrong on this article. Okay? You are very wrong. Let me tell you how Breath of the Wild came into existence. Let me tell you the game that paved the way for Breath of the Wild. The game that made Breath of the Wild exist. The game that made Skyward Sword exist. The game that made Twilight Princess and Wind Waker exist. That game is Ocarina of Time. Zelda Ocarina of Time is why Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time is why Wind Waker, Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess, and Breath of the Wild exists. Zelda Ocarina of Time is why Breath of the Wild exists. Okay? Because in Ocarina of Time, laying inside of a tree while you sleep and then you get a dream is one thing. Coming outside that tree and then walking around in the forest is one thing. I mean, the Lost Woods ain't no joke. Lost Woods ain't no joke. Going inside a Deku tree, you go talk to a Deku tree, and then the Deku tree tells you a story, right? But then you got to go inside the Deku tree and then fight the that spider boss, right? Okay, that's one thing. The moment you leave the forest and you come out on a Hyrule field, the Zelda universe opened up. Anything is possible. Okay? Even a Zelda MMO. Okay? Ocarina of Time was the game that paved the way for Breath of the Wild. It was never Twilight Princess. It was never Skyward Sword. Okay? It was Ocarina of Time. Okay? Ocarina of Time opened the Zelda universe. Yeah, you had Link to the Past and you had Zelda Link's Awakening 1 and 2, but those games are nothing compared to Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time opened the Zelda universe. Okay? Ocarina of Time was a game. It was a prelude of things to come. Okay? Skyward Sword didn't do anything for Breath of the Wild. Okay? Because once you leave that forest and then you got onto the field, the Zelda universe opened up, and then you had to see the distance you had to go to get from one point to the next point. Okay? From one end to the next end. Whether it's the belly of the fish, whether it's going up to the mountains, whether it's going to the village. Okay? Whether it's going to Lalan, I think it's Lalan Ranch to go get Epona. Whether it's going to the market and seeing all them peoples in the market area with, I mean, you get to whether it's going to Hyrule's castle to sneak past the guards and to go talk to I think it was Princess Zelda. Whether it's going through the Hyrule market, okay, and that's when you run into Ganon on his horse. Ocarina of Time paved the way for Breath of the Wild. Like I said, Link to the Past, Zelda 1 and 2, I mean Link's Awakening and all that, those games were cool, but Ocarina of Time opened the Zelda universe. Okay, you can call Ocarina of Time the Temple of Time for Zelda. Okay, because you needed that game in order for Breath of the Wild, Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess to exist. Okay, and that's a fact. Okay, so this notion that Skyward Sword is the reason that Breath of the Wild exists is a bunch of nonsense. Ocarina of Time is the real reason why Breath of the Wild exists, because once you stepped onto the field, the vision for Zelda opened up. The Zelda universe opened up. The vision for Zelda just opened. Okay, even a Zelda MMO. I even got into an argument with people in the Miiverse saying that Zelda need to be an MMO. Okay, so Skyward Sword got nothing to do with Breath of the Wild. Okay, it might be like an anchor for Breath of the Wild, but the real reason why Breath of the Wild exists is because of Ocarina of Time. Okay, because the Forest Temple ain't no joke. That Forest Temple ain't no joke. Desert Colossus ain't no joke. That music remind me of Mortal Kombat so much. Fighting Ganon. Ocarina of Time did so much for Zelda. Ocarina of Time did so much for the Zelda universe. It paved the way for Breath of the Wild. Okay. Has Skyward Sword ain't cranked up what it's supposed to be. Okay. The reason why Breath of the Wild exists is because of Ocarina of Time. Okay. So yeah. Ocarina of Time is that game. Okay, because once you step onto that field, once you go through that, you walk through that portal and got onto Hyrule Field, and then you see the journeys you got to take, and then you realize you need a horse. Ocarina of Time is that game. Okay, it paved the way. It paved the way for Wind Waker. It paved the way for Twilight Princess. It paved the way for Skyward Sword, and it paved the way for Breath of the Wild. Okay, Ocarina of Time is that game, and based on the limitation of the Nintendo 64 hardware, if the Nintendo 64 hardware was a 64-bit CD system, then the creator of Zelda could have expanded on it some more. Okay, with the 64, you were limited to what you can do. But just imagine if the Nintendo 64 was a 64-bit CD system, then the creators of Zelda could have really expanded on Ocarina of Time. Okay, Ocarina of Time is that game. So Skyward Sword ain't it, man. Sorry. You know, the vision, the direction for Zelda just opened up the moment you left the forest and came right onto Hyrule Field, and the journey you had to take just to get to the gate of Hyrule. I mean the castle where you run into Ganon. Yeah, that was something. So Ocarina of Time is that game, man. It paved the way for a lot of games. Okay, it paved the way for a lot of games. Ocarina of Time even helped Skyrim. You know what I'm saying? Ocarina of Time helped Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Ocarina of Time is that game. Okay, so like I said, if Nintendo had a 64-bit CD system, they could have expanded on Ocarina of Time, make it bigger than what it was. Okay, because with the 64-bit Nintendo 64 cartridge, you were limited. Okay, but yeah, I mean the grappling hook, the anti-gravity boots. You fight, what's his name? Bongo. You know, you going through the village graveyard, pulling the tombstones back. Then you fall. Then you fall through one of them graves. Man, the Ocarina of Time is that game. Okay. The only thing I didn't like about Ocarina of Time was the when you fight that dragon. That dragon was too small. Okay, that dragon should have been bigger and causing havoc. I thought, but like I said, if they had a 64-bit CD system, they could have expanded on it. Okay, so yeah, Ocarina of Time is that game, man. It paved the way for Breath of the Wild. Okay, so it's not Skyward Sword, it's not Twilight Princess, it's not Wind Waker. It's Ocarina of Time, because like I said, the Zelda universe, it just opened up. The Zelda world, universe, landscape just opened up, and you knew the direction that Zelda could go in. But in order to make Zelda what it needs to be, hardware is important. So yeah, that means CPU power, RAM, and all that. And if you look at Breath of the Wild, it looks watered down, to tell you the truth. It needs more detail. You know, so yeah, Ocarina of Time is that game. Okay, Ocarina of Time paved the way for Breath of the Wild. Has nothing to do. Skyward Sword barely did anything. Ocarina of Time just opened the floodgates basically Ocarina of Time opened the floodgates when it comes to the Zelda universe. It was never Skyward Sword. Anyway, I'm going to leave a link in the description box with this article. Nice talking to you people again. Chris, still a Star Wars and Star Trek thing. Bored Dark Side. I'm gone. Peace. Oh.